Hello, friends, and welcome to the Exploring Washington State podcast. My name is Scott Cowan, and I'm the host of the show. Each episode, I have a conversation with an interesting guest who is living in or from Washington State. These are casual conversations with real and interesting people. I think you're going to like the show. So let's jump right in with today's guest. All right. Well, I'm sitting down, literally, and so is Meghan. And Meghan Storey is my guest today, and that was the dog named Hendrix, who is chiming in because he wants, I don't know.
He wants my attention. I think I might have to put
credits
him up
on the episode. Maybe we'll just give him some credits on the episode, and maybe he'll be happy. So, Meghan, welcome to the show. Thanks for making this work, and I'm looking forward to chatting with you.
Me too.
We were introduced by this guy, and as much as I really want to make fun of him, he's one of the nicest people in the world. Raymond Hayden. I met Ray, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago now, and he's introduced me to a lot of people around Puget Sound, and you're the latest one, or latest victim. And Ray said, you need to talk to Meghan. She's got a really cool story. You guys just, as of today, when we're recording this, you guys just dropped a new song. Let's start with that. Let's just, for a second, before we go into your backstory, why don't you tell the audience what the song is and why you and Ray and the others decided this was going to be the next song to be released?
The song is Silent Lucidity. It's a classic. It's a rock classic from my childhood. It's one that kind of has a tone that has weaved through so many people's lives and has brought so many people together and reminds people of, just things that happened in their lives. It has so much to it. I'm having a hard time explaining it. But it's a big song. It has a lot of history. It has a lot of story to tell. It has a lot of lives that it has connected, and it means a lot to me, and it means a lot to Ray. And so we decided to do it and bring Lynn in on it just because it's a beautiful song, and I wanted to put my spin on it.
Okay. And by Lynn, you mean Lynn Sorensen?
Lynn Sorensen, yeah.
Let's give him his props there. Met Lynn a couple of times when he was playing with Jessica Lynn Whitty. And I always, anytime somebody's playing, violin in a rock or country setting, it's always a little like, that's cool. Because you don't see that all the time.
No, you don't.
And he's got he has not been on the show. Maybe we'll change that one of these days, but he's got kind of a really long backstory, which is pretty cool too. So I have to ask, did you meet Lynn before you met Ray, or did Ray introduce you to Lynn?
So I've met Lynn. I met Lynn at a jam session about a year ago. But I don't really know him. I didn't get to know him until I got to know Ray.
Okay.
I'm really shy. I'm really shy. And I just, I walked into that jam session and I sang a song with the band, and he's like, "Hey, who are you?" And I'm like, "My name's Meghan." And he's like, "It's nice to meet you. Come back." And I'm like, "I will." And then didn't.
Was that by chance? Was that like at Dawson's?
That was at the North End on Pearl, actually.
Okay.
It was with a cover band that I used to play with a lot.
Okay.
And I'm still really good friends with those guys.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I see every now and then I see something that he's hosting kind of a...
He does run a jam at Dawson's on Wednesday nights, and I do go there.
Yeah, okay.
I do go there pretty often, yeah.
And for anybody who's not familiar with Tacoma, Dawson's is on South Tacoma Way, about 56 in South Tacoma Way. It's been there for a long, long time. I don't think I've ever actually been inside Dawson's, just as a fun little fact.
I love going there. It's one of my favorite places.
Because I think a lot of our conversation today is going to be focused on when we talked before about before music, if you will, or before this chapter of your life. So, but for this chapter, how'd you meet Ray? And what was your bad luck? And how did you run? I'm kidding. I cannot not make fun of Ray. It's like it's in my DNA. I can't not do it. So Ray, if you're listening, the whole episode's going to be pot shots of you. Just
he gets it everywhere. It's so funny.
Yeah.
I met Ray. Actually, it was funny. I was nominated for the Washington State Independent Music Awards last year.
Okay.
For 2024, and I remember watching the ballot come out. We were all watching the people vote and sending it out. And my friend at the time that was playing music with me was like, "Who is this Ray Hayden guy? Like, he seems to be winning, but who is this guy?" And I'm like, "I don't know." And he was like, Jerry Miller, Jerry Miller. And I'm like, Jerry Miller's a beast in his own right, but I think we should find out who Ray Hayden is. And he's like, "I don't know who this guy is. I've never heard of him before." And I'm like, "Well, obviously everybody else has, so we should probably find out who he is, you know." Get to the Washington State Independent Music Awards, and I won Up and Coming Artist of the Year, and then the duo that I was in won Best Duo, and Raymond won Local Legend, which I will never ever let him. That's a great standing joke right there.
Right.
But it was like the Up and Coming Artist and the Local Legend. I was like, we should do a song together. We should totally collaborate, write a song together. Let's do this. Let's do this. And he was all about it too. So we came up with Lemons, and then it was really good. And so we decided to do Y after that. And then shortly after Y came Amen. And then we've got Silent Lucidity. And now there's like 19 other songs that we're working on. We've got 3 that are put together. We're going to be putting some more out.
Wow.
We've got a system of how we're going to put songs out. And yeah, we're having a great time.
Wow. That's 19 more, you guys?
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that Ray could count that high.
You can play that much piano.
He and I have talked a lot, and he's been a guest on the show before. And I follow Ray on social media, not just Ray, but like his music accounts. And then like, he's extremely prolific in promotion. And I've said this to him, so I'm not saying anything, but it can be kind of exhausting when you follow him everywhere to see all this, like this big wave of promotion build up. And I've been watching it for the Silent Lucidity, and it's not his fault because I follow him everywhere. Of course, he's going to be promoting it everywhere, as he should be.
Right.
But he is one of the people that I really do admire, the passion with which he pursues music. And the people that he pursues music with tend to also have this very passionate commitment to the art of music. And so, you know, we're talking, and I, you know, if you've signed on and you're going to do a couple of dozen songs with him, you know, my God, that's crazy. That it's cool and it's crazy at the same time.
It had blown up in front of us, that's for sure.
Yeah. And
neither one of us was expecting it to do this.
Yeah, and he's a very talented musician, and he's a very, you know, he's one of those people in life that knows how to connect people to each other that have complementary abilities and mindsets that you don't necessarily think of yourself. And he goes, "Oh, you should talk to him." You know, boom, boom, boom. So when Ray and I were talking, I don't know, probably around Thanksgiving, this was when we were talking last time, and you came up, and he was telling me about the song, and full disclosure, he sent me an early cut of it so I could listen to it. So I was able to, you know, since it's released, I can say that now. It's not like I'm disclosing anything. I signed the NDA. No. I think what you just said is very correct. I think it even is that the two of you together has morphed into something maybe a little bit larger than one would have anticipated, right?
Yes.
And it's, you know, and you'll continue to build on that. So we're going to set that aside because really I can talk to a lot of musicians about things that are building and music and all that they're releasing, because it's all very important. But your story outside of music and connected to music, but outside of it is something that I think needs to get some awareness built around it. How's that? And my little podcast can hopefully help a little bit. So why don't you take over so I shut up and give us kind of your journey to where you are today. I know it's a long, but you get the idea.
I got you.
Right.
So my mom says, and my sisters, I'm a middle child, but only kind of. I have a couple sets of family. I have my mom's side of the family and my dad's side of the family, and I'm the youngest, second to the youngest on my mom's side, and I am the youngest on my dad's side. I have a lot of brothers and sisters. I grew up listening to my brothers and sisters in their bands and playing with their friends. And everybody was all about going to this concert and going to that show and check out this new tape that I just got. And, oh, here's a demo tape that I picked up at a show last night. And, oh, you got to listen to this. And, oh, my friends are going to come over and we're going to play some music today. And, and I grew up immersed in that as a child. And so like my brothers and my sisters and my mom's favorite story to tell about me is that by the time I was 3, I had completely memorized the Jesus Christ Superstar soundtrack. And I sang it at top volume everywhere we went. And then after that came the Robin Hood soundtrack from the cartoon. And then I learned, I knew all of the Disney songs growing up. I knew everything. I made friends with this little girl down the road from me, and we would put on these extravagant performances of The Little Mermaid in her family room every day after school. I mean, it was, and we would fight over who got to be Ursula and who got to be Ariel.
Oh my God. All right.
And we would do that. And then, unfortunately, first I joined the Seattle Girls Choir when I was about 7. And I sang with them for a long time. That's where the majority of my vocal training came from, is from the Seattle Girls Choir. I began in the beginning choir, and by the time I was 9, I was in the intermediate choir. And when I was 12, they were considering me for the advanced choir, which is really unusual because I was so young. But I also ended up in the DSHS system at 12, and I was put into foster care, and I'm a foster failure. I couldn't stay in a foster home. No foster homes would keep me. I kept ending up back at DSHS, and they would give me bus tickets to go down to this Seattle Denny's and hang out all night long. And then, they would give me a ride to the Denny's and then give me the bus ticket to get back to DSHS in the morning. And I met a bunch of kids down there at the Denny's who were all in the same position that I was, and they weren't going back to DSHS. They were like, why waste your time? So I stopped wasting my time, and I started sleeping in the doorway around the corner from the Denny's with my friends. I stayed in group homes and shelters. I lived under a bridge for a while. I stayed at the Graham Street shelter quite a bit. They have a very profound effect on my life. Actually, they were very supportive. They introduced me to the people in the independent living program at the YMCA, which was another one that saved me. There was the Orion Center, where I got my GED prep class and stuff, which was a drop-in center in downtown Seattle. And I started doing my GED classes through there. They got me my GED through the United Indians of All Tribes. And then they called me in and made me sing. And I met Melvin through the Orion Center, and Melvin hooked me up with this program called Everybody Has a Song. And I went into the studio when I was 14, and I wrote a song in the studio, and I recorded it, and it got mixed and mastered. And I was able to learn about the whole experience. And I did a little video, and then we did a promotion video. And I still have a little clip of that video from me at 14 talking about, I want my music to tell about my story and where I came from and where I've been and how I got out of it. And I just look at myself and I'm like, you don't even know. Right. You don't even know what you're about to encounter. You're so young. You have only just started. Oh my gosh. There's so much that happens, child. But, it's nice to see me in that moment, because even at that moment, I was sleeping in a doorway in downtown Seattle and getting up every day and taking the bus to the studio so that I could get there and write music and be there and be part of that. And, that was a very, very that was a pivotal moment for me. It took me a long time to figure out that was a pivotal moment for me, because I didn't actually change my course until I was 42. But
okay.
Yeah, I grew up, I got emancipated when I was 16. I went to college. I have degrees. My hands fell apart when I was 19, and I've had a bunch of surgeries on them. And so now I'm disabled, and music is all I have left to do. And I'm really thankful that I have it, because I think I would go crazy.
When it comes to the system, homelessness, all of these things, this big bouillabaisse of situations, a lot of us, that was never my world, right? I'm really lucky that I never had to experience that, right? And right. What the media portrays is one thing, and I don't know, if I'm being very honest, I don't know that the media is accurate or not accurate. I have an opinion, but that's just based on my own opinion. But you said you slept in doorways and with other people. So there was some maybe safety in numbers.
There was a whole lot of kids on the street back then. I've had people talk to me about this. We used to stay at the Seattle Times building inside the basement of the old Seattle Times building. And apparently there was I remember when they came and they got us out of there because they were planning to level it. And they basically fumigated us all out. They used smoke bombs and stuff and got us all out of the building. Mm-hmm. And there was probably 1,000 kids living in there at the time.
Wow.
And I've had people ask me, "Oh, you're one of the Seattle Times building kids." And I'm like, what? But I think there was a news story about that where people were like, there was thousands of kids living in the old Seattle Times building. There's no adults there. There's just a bunch of homeless kids.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. We were all just living down there.
But naively looking at this, it seems like it would be easy to go off the rails versus stay on the tracks, if you will, right? Why do you think, you and I are talking today, you've had your journey and all that, but you're put together, or at least you're presenting as you're put together today. I'm teasing when I say it like that, but what was music that instrumental in helping you navigate and survive these years?
Yeah, it was a coping mechanism for me. I had a guitar until it got stolen. I had a guitar. I would sit outside of the Greyhound station on 9th and Stewart and sing into my Walkman. I always had music. It was a coping mechanism. I would listen to it to, not be alone, but I would also write it because writing songs let me express my feelings that I didn't feel like I could talk about.
Why? Why couldn't, looking back, if you were able to put words on paper, so to speak, mm-hmm. But yet you couldn't vocalize them. Why do you think that was?
Because as a homeless kid, you can't show weakness. You have to be strong, and everywhere you go, you try to disappear into the wall because if you get seen, people are going to move you. They're going to want you to change. They're going to hurt you. There's always some kind of, and when you're in that place, you have to really get yourself out of it, and you can't. It's not about somebody picking you up and pulling you out of the hole. You have to climb out of it yourself. Whether you're a kid or an adult, it doesn't matter. It sucks because, being 12 years old, 13 years old, how do you climb out of a hole that you got into and you have no idea how you're there? And it takes a little while to figure it out and find the ladder and find the ropes, but you do, and you get out, you realize, you start to figure it out. Oh, these people have money because they have a job. I need a job. That's what I need, is a job so that I can get money so I can get a place to live. Okay, I have a job. I have money. Let me go get an apartment. Crap, I'm too young. Let me get emancipated first. Okay, now I got emancipated. Now I've got a job. Now I've got money. Now I have an apartment. I want to go to school. And that was just kind of how it went. It was just build up and work towards, goal setting. And that job was the number one thing. I must have filled out probably 50,000 applications by the time I was 15.
So what was your first, I'm making air quotes, job? What was your first legitimate?
The very first job paycheck that I was ever hired for was it was actually called the Seattle Young People's Project. And it was on East Lake. And it was like an office building. And they wanted me to go out. I was living in a group home at the time. And they wanted me to go out and detail the homelessness among the kids and write about it for their newsletter. So I did that. I was 15. I did that for 3 months. And then I worked at the Burger King on East Lake, Lake Union, down there by the Mercer Denny's. I was trying to get a job at Mercer Denny's. That was always the goal. I wanted to work at the Mercer Street Denny's. I want that. And I got a job at the Skippers on 35th and Edmonds. And I was working there for about 6 months. I moved up to shift leader and I was right before my 16th birthday. And they said, okay, we'll hire you as a hostess. And I'm like, bye, Skippers.
I'm out.
And I went to work at Denny's and I was there for 8 years.
Why was Denny's the pinnacle of employment for you?
It was my home.
Okay.
It was my home. It was my home.
All right.
And I wanted to be there.
All right.
And being able to work there and seeing all the waitresses working and talking to all the people and the tips on the tables and the amount of, and being in control of how much money you make versus somebody just telling you, you can only make $4.25 an hour. Here, go make some pizza. I was like, man, I really wanted to I really wanted to be a waitress. I really, really did. Really, really bad.
Okay, very important question. This may be the most important question of the entire conversation. Two-part question. What's the best thing on the Denny's menu, and what's the worst thing on the Denny's menu?
Well, nothing's good on the Denny's menu anymore. It's all crap.
All right.
But when I worked there, best thing on the Denny's menu was the Super Bird, which is still a good sandwich. It's still a good sandwich, but it's not as good as it used to be. And the worst thing was liver and onions, which thankfully they've taken off.
I don't recall Denny's serving. Oh,
it was terrible. It was terrible. Yes, they served it. Yes, they served it. And it was like one of the most popular dishes on the swing shift. Dinner time. You know, the older couples would come in. They all wanted liver and onions, and I'm like, this smells awful. Why are you eating this?
I have to agree. My Denny's opinion is the Super Bird is the
Super Bird. That's where it's at.
Yeah, man. It's so funny. To me, that's the iconic Denny's thing, not the Grand Slam breakfast or anything. No, give me a Super Bird. Okay, all right.
Biscuits and gravy used to be pretty good there too, but their gravy has gone downhill too. There's still good gravy. It's still good. It's just not as good as it was when I worked there.
So,
but I think I'm a little biased.
What shift did you typically work at Denny's?
I worked swing grave shift, so I was typically there from 2:00 in the afternoon to 6 in the morning. Oof. They tried me on the day shift and took me off of it because I didn't smile enough.
You didn't smile, and at 2 a.m. you don't have to smile at the people coming out of the club.
I was always smiling at 2 a.m.
Yeah. So
at 2:00 in the morning at Denny's, you would get like on the weekdays, you get like your taxi cab drivers, and then you get like the guys that were coming down from. We had a practice space next door to us, and so we got a lot of musicians in our Denny's. We were the popular Denny's in downtown Seattle, so that we were the Denny's to go to. And you went there first, and then if you really didn't want to wait, you'd go to the Aurora Denny's and hope you didn't get shot in the parking lot.
Gotta love Seattle. Gotta love it.
Gotta love Seattle.
So you worked there,
and then we ended up having a shooting in our parking lot, which was terrible.
You worked there for 8 years?
I did.
Wow. I don't think I'd last 8 hours working in a day.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was my home. It was my home base.
All right.
The manager was like a father to me.
Okay.
And we're still close. Like I still talk to him. One of my street brothers passed away recently, and he actually lived with the manager for his whole life. Like he ended up just staying with Patrick forever. Wow. And they became best friends, and it's a really good ending for him. But at the same time, I wish things would have been different for him. You know, I think he could have made some different choices, and maybe other people could have made different choices, and things could have changed a little bit, and his life could have been a little easier. But, you know, I'm glad that he was able to have the life that he did because he came from the same place I did.
What you're saying is that specific Denny's during the time that you were there was a safe haven and understood the things that were happening to its employees and to you outside of their shifts.
They knew what was happening to me before I was an employee.
Okay.
They were giving me places to sleep. They were feeding me. They were doing things for me. And there was a lot of different servers. There was turnover, but that one manager always was there. He was always there.
And I'm going to guess he gave you liver and onions.
No, he never did. He gave me Super Birds, French fries, cheese and bacon soup.
Oh, all right.
Lots of coffee.
So
a place to live.
So this one person had a very large impact on this period of your life.
Oh yeah.
And you don't think about a restaurant manager having that sort of impact on you or others. You know what I mean? To me, you don't think about that. That's really cool.
But he was in the prime position. He was the graveyard manager at a downtown Seattle Denny's, and there was a whole lot of street kids running around. And he was like, "You guys are not safe out here.
Right?
Come in, have some coffee, eat some French fries.
Wow.
Here we've got a few mistakes in the back. Why don't you guys eat some food?"
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then he gave me a job.
And then you worked there.
And he gave me a place to live. And he's just always, amazing human being. Amazing human being.
So after 8 years, what was the motivation? What was the opportunity that
it wasn't an opportunity.
Okay.
The Denny's closed, and I went to the North Auburn Denny's, and I worked in Auburn for a while. I had my daughter. My oldest child was born, and my hands started to bother me really bad. And I had a lot of problems with my hands. They would ache, they would hurt. I couldn't hold on to things. I was dropping things a lot, breaking things. And I kept going to the doctor, and they were like, well, you have carpal tunnel. Here, wear these braces. And so I did. They did a carpal tunnel release on me, and it was still happening. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And when I was 19, I was 22. I walked into my doctor's office, and I was like, something's got to give. Sorry, it's the time of day where people are going to start walking outside, and he's just going to continually bark.
That's okay.
The window.
So you went to the doctor. Something had to give.
I went to the doctor. I was like, something's got to give. And he did x-rays, and he called me 3 days later, and he was like, I'm so sorry, Megan, you have to quit your job. You need to call a lawyer, and you need to call this surgeon. You have aseptic necrosis of the carpal lunate, and it's bad. And I was like, what's that? And he goes, you need to go see this doctor. So I went to go see this doctor, and he did this really cool x-ray of my hand where you could like see the motion and the movement inside and stuff. And he said that my lunate bone had collapsed. I was in stage 4B Kienbach's disease, or Kienbach's, however you want to pronounce it. It's a German word. I don't know. So my hands fell apart. I had the aseptic necrosis of the carpal lunate. I had the surgery done on my right hand where they did a fusion, and my right hand doesn't bend anymore.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. And then my left hand had it too. And I ended up having 8 surgical procedures to stop the damage in both hands.
Wow.
I've had nerves moved, bone cut out, fusions. I've had releases. I mean, it's everything from your trigger fingers to your Decair vein to your carpal tunnel. I've had this one released here. It's just like never ending. But
when was the last time you had to have a procedure done?
They want me to have one now, but I chose not to, because I feel like I'm Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas, like I just have so many scars on my hands, and I'm really tired of having surgeries. The last surgery that I had to have was actually on my hand. And I broke a bowl, and it went through my hand, and it cut through 2 tendons and 5 nerves. So here we are.
Ow. Okay.
Yeah. But I still play music because music is, I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, I think I am not a musician. No one wants to hear me sing. In fact, I'm paid handsomely to not sing ever. ASCAP plays, as long as there are no music credited to me, I get paid by them to, basically they bribe me to shut up. No, I have no musical aptitude. I absolutely love music. I listen to music a lot, but I don't have the talent, and that's fine. I mean, that's okay. But the musicians that I know, and I know a lot of musicians, they see, and not just musicians, I'll just say artists, all seem to have this uncontrollable obsession with creating. They won't stop. And that's awesome. I mean, I think it's wonderful. Even sometimes it's detrimental to people to be so obsessive. Sometimes, but I don't think that's very often. I think more often than not.
I don't know. I definitely call it an obsession. I write all the time. Like I'm constantly writing. I have a book out that I put out last year. I have another book I'm putting out this year.
Right.
But I just, it's a coping mechanism, it's just like, it's how I deal with things. It's how I handle things. And if I couldn't do writing or write songs about, situations or feelings that I have, or, different stuff that comes up, I think I would go crazy.
And so people find ways to cope. They find an outlet that, whether that be painting, writing, singing, playing piano, all of the above, whatever. It's very, to me, it's very, I'm struggling for a word here, but I find it, it's wonderful that people, regardless of, not everyone can be Taylor Swift, and not everyone wants to be Taylor Swift. But that doesn't stop people from releasing their art.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that the art isn't as good, better, just different. Mm-hmm. It's the music industry seems almost, in my opinion, stacked against you to be successful, financially successful.
It is.
Yeah, it just seems very.
I don't even know that it's stacked against you. I don't know that that's what it is, to be honest with you. I look at the music industry and I don't think, I hear all these people saying it's 100,000 streams, 100,000 songs a day being uploaded, and, you have to stand out, and it's always a challenge, and the music business is stacked against musicians, and, you just have to, it's really, really hard to get out there. And I think the focus needs to change. I think it's not about how many songs you can get out there, it's not really, I mean, it is about that. That is part of the game, but it's more about, connecting with people.
Mm-hmm.
If you can connect with one person and just connect with one person through a song, that if I could do that with one song that I've written, my job is done. I'm happy. Okay. I just need one person. I've had that. I've had a couple people. So there's a song that I wrote that tends to kind of get people to come up and be like, wow, thank you for writing that. Wow, that's really amazing. Wow, what were you thinking when you wrote that? You must have been in a really dark place. I'm so glad that you wrote that. I can really feel that. It resonates with me. And I've heard that a lot about that particular song. It's called Alone. And I don't know. I just think it's more about connecting. It's not about, trying, you make it because you can connect with people, because you can create the connections. It's a language of emotions. It's not a race to the top, I think.
I don't disagree with you. Unfortunately, I do think that some artists do only,
they do. Definitely.
It's only a race to the top is the only measure of success. And I think there's so many places on the continuum of what success is. Mm-hmm. That, don't get me wrong, I think every single one of us would like to be worth $1 billion. But if we were all worth $1 billion, then there'd be somebody with $1 trillion and we would still be poor. I mean, we'd
still be broke.
Yeah, we'd still be broke. But
look at us all now, $20 an hour. Come on, that's a big difference from $4.25.
But it's not.
But we're still broke.
Exactly. Rent, it's your rent still takes, all of it. Anyway, the point though is that when I talk to people who are authors or, musicians and all that, the thing that gets me, that inspires me, is the obsession isn't the right word, but just not just you, but you all are drawn to, and inexplicably, you cannot stop creating.
That's correct.
And that is something that should be appreciated and celebrated more. And I'm not saying like everybody should be, making $1 billion, but I think people that create art should be acknowledged as contributing a great deal to the quality of the fabric of life.
I agree.
And we all have our ways. I mean, we all have our ways. But you, especially, what you've shared with us is that, during the time of, the Seattle Times building or Doorways or, I'll say couch surfing, you were able to address your emotions in the form of writing and / music. That's a good choice. Many people don't have those outlets, or they don't allow themselves to have those outlets. And that's when I think it becomes very tragic.
You lose them. I lost a lot of people. There's a lot of people I lost.
Yeah. And
you lose them.
Not to make this, we're not trying to go into a deep, dark place here with the show, because we avoid that. I just, appreciate you sharing this vulnerable side. And I hope that if one person listens to this and they draw some inspiration from it, then that's we
to be honest,
both
my whole goal with all of this is I think what I want is for people to look at people a little bit differently. When you see somebody walking down the street, if you're walking down the street and you see somebody sitting on the side of the road begging for change, you don't have to give them change. You don't have to give them anything. say hello.
Mm-hmm.
Let them know that you understand where they're coming from. Let them know that they're a human being. Stop and talk to them for a second, because that's actually more valuable than change.
Right.
Letting us know that we're, it's that human connection. And you've got all these people that are living on the streets, and they feel so separated from the rest of the world. It's a totally different lifestyle. It's a totally different vibe. There's no politics. There's no rules. There's no regulations. It's everybody's out for themselves. It's a constant war zone out there. And they feel like they live in a completely different world from the rest of everybody else.
Right.
It's not the same.
So if I gave you the magic wand to solve this, and honestly, I'm going to preface this by saying I know it's not necessarily a solvable solution. What do you think needs to be done to change the what's happening? I mean, the media says there's, thousands and thousands of homeless people on the streets. They're living in their cars, their tents, they're on the side of the road, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The media portrays that everywhere. In your opinion, having done your variation of that, what needs to happen to start improving this quality of life for these people?
Well, we have to stop treating them like they're less than human. A lot of people, their situation isn't going to change unless they can change it. We can't do anything for them. We cannot. We can't go out there and say, you need a job. Here, let me dust you up, put some clothes on you, and send you out into the workforce. Okay, that's a great idea. But what about all the stuff that's going on inside that human being that got them there in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
We can't change them. The only person that can change them is them. What we have to do is allow them the space to be who they are and go through what they're going to go through so that they can be successful. We have to allow them to be human beings. We have to stop treating them like they're pieces of shit, and we have to stop treating them like they're separate. The separation, the gap between the two worlds has to go away. We are not any better than somebody sitting on the side of the street. I'm no better than somebody sitting on the street because I have a house over my head. Oh my Lord, do you know how hard I worked for this? But I had to make changes in me, and these people have to make changes in them. And the only way that they're going to be able to do that is if they can see the silver lining. And as long as the two worlds are so separated, there's no silver lining.
Okay.
They have to make the changes. We can't do anything for them. All we can do is make an area for them and a space for them to do it. And they've got to go through whatever torment and trauma they've got in their bodies and their minds and their souls and their spirits. They have to figure out how to cope with it. Some people can and get off the streets, and other people can't and they stay there. But it doesn't matter if they're still there, if they stay there. If they choose to stay because that's where they're comfortable, or if they choose to stay because that's what they know, or if the reason that they stay is because they can't find a way out, it doesn't matter. They still need to be part of the human race. They're not pieces of crap. We're all human beings. We're all in this together. We're all on this planet. We can't go anywhere. We're making it impossible for people to live here. It is ridiculous.
I don't think I can
That's just my opinion.
Well, I can't add anything to that. That was extremely comprehensive. I mean, this is a very direct and personal question. You have kids.
Yes.
How are you, as a parent, doing what you can to help your kids not have to go through what you went through?
I make sure that they're listened to, that they feel heard, that they have space to, do what they're going to do. My son is a musician. My daughter's a gymnast. She's not interested in music at all. My oldest daughter, she definitely had her times where she ran away from home, and, you give her space to do what she's going to do. She went and stayed with her dad for a while. She came back home. She went back to her dad's house. She stayed with her sister for a while. She came back home. She tried New York out for a while. She came back home. You just give the best. I don't know. As far as momming, I always tell my kids, I'm sorry. I'm not a traditional mom, and I don't really know what I'm doing here. So we just have to wing it. We're all just winging it. I'm better with this group of kids than I was with the first group. I guess it depends. I was younger with the first group, so I was able to connect more. This one, I'm able to take more of a parental type seat and be like, okay, that's a bad choice. You're not going to do that. Whereas before I was like, well, let's try it out together. Let's see if it works. It's just a matter of, giving them space to be who they are. Hopefully they grow up and make it, because we're all trying.
I joke. My daughter came to live with me when she turned 13, and I love my daughter, and she's 30 now. So this is, 17 years ago, and she's a good kid, got 2 kids of her own now. And I just remember going, where the hell is the manual? What do I do with a 13-year-old girl?
Who is this thing? And where's my daughter is what I used to say.
It was
insanity.
It was, and she was a good kid. I mean, it wasn't but even at that time, I was a single dad, and her brother was 16 at that time, and they were both going to high school in Cowan Stadium. And I always was looking for that manual, and, it was a joke, but God, I don't know, there wouldn't have been an amount of money I wouldn't have paid to find the manual.
Right.
But I think as parents, we all, God, I mean, I think I was a pretty easy kid for my mom and dad. I was an only child, and I didn't put them through too much intentional grief. And neither did my kids. My kids are both good kids too. I'm not saying that, but I don't know. I don't know what you do. My kids' friends, I watched, as they became homeless. Some of them did, and they struggled, and they weren't getting good feedback on, and not good. What I mean by good is like caring, not authoritative and yelling and you will not do this in my house, blah, blah, blah. But somebody who would listen and try to have empathy. And I think, through my limited observations, I think the thing that we're missing is empathy.
I think it's a lot of it.
Yeah.
A lot of it is empathy.
So you're now, you're a musician. You and I have connected on Facebook, and I see that you're playing frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So
as often as possible.
Yeah. So let's kind of grind the gears and go back into the music business in Washington State right now. Where are you finding an audience these days?
It's funny. I find an audience pretty regularly. I go places. Sometimes it's, just a couple of people. Sometimes it's a whole room. We had a really good crowd the other night. It just kind of depends on, who's out. Getting people out is definitely a challenge sometimes. I try to, one thing I try to do is with my show is I engage the crowd in my show, and I try to make them part of it.
Okay.
I ask people questions. I have guessing games. I like to give away merch. I like to talk about, different stuff that's going on today. I like to, find people that are musicians and bring them up on the stage to sing a song. I like to do stuff like that. And that tends to draw people, I think, to the shows because they have a good time. I think that I like doing the Tacoma scene. I like playing a lot in Tacoma. It's where most of my fan base is in the Tacoma area, Pierce County. I live here. So
one question I like to ask musicians, so I'll ask you this first question. Now I want you to think about this because there's 2 parts of the question. So as a performer, as a musician, where's the best room to play at that you've played at so far?
I love playing at the Spanish Ballroom.
Okay. Why?
It's the best sound system I've come across. It's just and it's a beautiful room. The artwork is phenomenal. Okay. The McMenamins in North Tacoma, beautiful room. The Elk Temple Lodge is just beautiful all the way around. Every floor, every stairway, every elevator. It's a beautiful place. I love playing there.
So that's your favorite as a performer, favorite place. Yeah. Okay. So now I want you to flip the script. You're going to be in the audience. Where's the best place to see live music?
That's kind of a loaded question because
of course it is.
Seeing live music is okay. I love to see live music, so I'm always happy to see it wherever I go. There are definitely some places where it's better than others, and it's because of the shape of the room, right? There's some places where you sound like you're in a box, and there's other places where it's like, oh, wow, this is awesome. The Spanish Ballroom is great sound. You can never go wrong going to a show there. But I actually really, really like to go to shows that are outside. Okay. I like to go to outside park shows. Those are my favorite thing to do. The dancing, the people, there's music, it's outside.
All right. There's no wrong answers. So
you dance in the grass with your bare feet. It's great.
Right. All right. Now, as a musician, Washington State only, what venue that you haven't played in would you love to play in?
Washington State only. You know, I've got, honestly, I always shoot really big. It's really big. I got a big dream out there. I'm looking at the stage at Benaroya Hall.
Really? Benaroya?
Yeah,
okay.
I want to play there.
You want to do Benaroya?
I do.
All right. Why? Why Benaroya?
It's beautiful. It's just beautiful. It's a beautiful place to sing. The acoustics in there are phenomenal. And when I've heard people sing in there, it's just like, I saw a choir sing there for Christmas several years ago. It was a long time ago now, like right after it opened. And it was just beautiful. Absolutely. The music surrounded me. I could feel it coming in my ears. I could feel it coming in my feet. I could feel it coming through osmosis into my skin. And I was just like, I want to do that.
I've never asked this question. I'm teleporting you. You're on the stage at Benaroya Hall. You get to sing one song. What would it be?
I would sing, it's a song I wrote called Amen.
Okay. All right. So Benaroya Hall, you would sing Amen. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
And it would be beautiful.
All right. And I got to ask you, just out of curiosity, Spanish Ballroom I went to it for the first time a couple months ago, and I grew up in Tacoma. I went to Franklin Pierce High School, so south end of, kind of Puyallup area. Okay. And the Elks Temple, the Elks Lodge, whatever you want to call it, had been vacant my entire childhood. I mean, it was just this big white elephant. The old City Hall building, there's been multiple attempts at resurrecting it through my lifetime, but not really successful. But I had never gone into to McMiniman since it had been restored. And I was nervous because I had kind of pretty high expectations of the place, and it exceeded my expectations. I mean, what an amazing, cool space. And I can't wait to go back and actually explore more of it and spend some time checking out the various bars and all of that.
Try food in every restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw a Tacoma band called the Twang Junkies. They opened up for a Seattle band called the Heats that night. I
know the Heats. You're the second person to bring it. We were talking about the Heats last night.
Yeah, and I've seen the Heats. The first time I saw the Heats was in 1980. I know Steve Pearson quite well. So I was really excited to see the band back together at this place I hadn't been to, blah, blah, blah. And the Twang Junkies, I know those guys as well. And I've seen them lots of times in, places in Tacoma, from the Valley to the Spar, all around the Tacoma area.
Right.
And they never sounded better than they did that night. They were amazing.
The Spanish Ballroom is the best.
They were amazing. And I was totally like, wow, this is such a cool venue. The only problem, as far as I'm concerned, is it doesn't have great parking. And if that's the only
I know. Even the parking in the back for the bands, like we have to drag the drums have to go up the stairs.
Yeah, well, that's what you have. You got to pay the price. Come on now. No, it's Tacoma's lucky. Tacoma's lucky to have this awesome room. And so you say, as a performer, you want to play there or Benaroya Hall, but yet as an audience member, you want to play outdoors. As a performer, do you like performing outdoors?
I do. I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay. All right. No wrong answers here. But let's keep it to Tacoma. I know I have to ask my important question. In your opinion, where's a great place to get coffee in Tacoma?
I love Valhalla on 6th Ave is really good. Valhalla has got good coffee.
Okay.
There's a place down on 21st and I think it's 17th, or no, 21st and Oaks. It's 21st and Oaks. It used to be called Brousseau's, but it's called something else now. It's really, really good too.
Okay.
And then there's Satellite Coffee. You can't go wrong with Satellite Coffee.
I used to live right there. Yeah, I used to live just the building next door.
I love Satellite.
All right. Satellites, all of those. I don't know the middle one, but Valhalla is,
So good.
You can't go wrong with Valhalla. Tacoma, I think Tacoma has a great amount of coffee options that are super, super solid.
And not Starbucks.
And not Starbucks.
I don't like Starbucks, but that's just me.
I worked for Starbucks for 7 years in their corporate offices. This is my opinion. And I've said it before, so you can tune out for 30 seconds, audience, if you heard me. But basically, we all of us that are coffee drinkers that like good coffee, well, quote unquote, good coffee. The Valhallas of the world wouldn't exist without Starbucks educating the masses that it's okay to pay $5, $7, dare I say even $10 for a cup of good coffee. Starbucks introduced coffee in a way that it wasn't Denny's anymore. Like you could sit at Denny's and nurse a cup of bad coffee all night long. And
even Denny's changed to Millstone when Starbucks came out, though.
Okay, but you know what I'm saying? Diner coffee.
Yeah.
You know, and I drink gas station coffee. I just love coffee.
I do too.
So I'm not trying to be pretentious and snobby, but Starbucks introduced the masses to the idea that there was something more than a stale cup of coffee that the waitress threw in your cup at 2 a.m.
Right.
Okay. And then the wave of micro roasters that came behind Starbucks and created a different level of quality that Starbucks can't do with the volume that they do.
The volume that they do. Yeah.
Right.
They used to, I don't know. I worked at the SBC in Westlake for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot of, you can't drink Starbucks if you like SBC. And I liked the SBC flavor better than Starbucks because it was softer. There's just a bitterness to the Starbucks flavor that I didn't care for.
Sure. And, then Starbucks solved that problem for you by buying SBC. So,
yes, they did. But it doesn't make it better because now I didn't have a job after that.
Right. No, I'm kind of kidding. Starbucks has some drinkable coffees, but I do think that if you look just a little bit harder, you can find really good coffee at places like Valhalla. The challenge though is when you go to a community, you don't know that Valhalla is good. You don't know if I took you and dropped you in Vancouver, Washington, you wouldn't know what a good coffee shop is.
I would have to go smell coffee shops until I find one that smells good.
And so you probably go to Starbucks just because it's quote unquote safe. And
that's what I did in New York. But I looked for Starbucks. when I was in New York.
Yeah, and you missed out on great
Hawaii.
coffee.
Where's the Starbucks at? Because it's reliable, Right.
But I always joke with the guests, please don't say Starbucks. It's kind of a running joke. I thought maybe for fun you would say Denny's to me, but and I would give you a hard time. All right. So last Tacoma food drink question. Lunch in Tacoma area. What do you think?
Oh man, I was thinking about this question. I actually asked a friend of mine who is very, very much a food connoisseur, and his answers did not agree with mine. There's this place in South Tacoma, on South Tacoma Way, across the street from Dawson's, called the Church Cantina. Okay. Oh my gosh, it's vegan.
Okay.
But it's really good. You'd never know it. It's delicious.
Okay.
And then there's another place called Shaka Bras on 6th Avenue.
Yep.
That's really, really good.
Yeah. Right. Solid. I haven't been to the Church Cantina, but I've been to Shaka Bra.
I love the
just out of curiosity, what did your friend suggest that you didn't agree with?
What was he talking about? He was talking about there's a restaurant inside of the Seven Seas Brewery in downtown that he really likes, where they make a smash burger.
Okay.
And we go there often and get oysters. And then he's quite a food connoisseur, so he's like Matador.
Oh.
Matador is really good too. They do have amazing nachos. I disagree with that at all. That was the best nachos I've ever had in my life, for sure. But yeah, I don't know. I like the church. I like going to the church. I think the atmosphere at the church is cool. They've got coffins on the wall to hold all the bottles of alcohol in, and all their different coffee flavors and everything. The church is great. I love the church.
Okay.
Probably one of my favorite places. Yeah. But if you're looking for good biscuits and gravy.
Yeah. What do you got?
You have to go to this little hole in the wall on 6th Avenue called is it the Soul Food Kitchen or the Soul Kitchen?
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
And they don't really have any heat. They've got a little heater that they kind of move around in there. Oh my gosh. You have to eat there. There.
The one, I haven't been there in a long, long time, but the one greasy spoon in Tacoma that I used to love to go to was Marcia's Silver Spoon.
gosh, I forgot about that place.
Have you ever been there?
I went there once a long time ago. I totally forgot about that place. That's so funny. I haven't even thought about that place in forever.
Yeah, that was always when I worked in the Tacoma area. I worked kind of down there, but
of Tacoma.
Yeah, that was kind of like, let's go for lunch again, and I'll have a heart attack, but that's okay. All right,
it's okay. It'll be good.
Silent Lucidity just dropped today, so this episode's coming out about a week later, actually, and so we'll make sure that there's a link people can go and check it out. What else do people need to know about you?
I don't even know how to answer that question. I don't know. I think I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, let me help you a little bit. Do you and Ray have any plans on performing live together in the next period
2025 is going to be an amazing year. Yes, we are going to do some shows together.
Okay.
He is very excited. I feel a little bit proud of myself because he says I sparked in him a desire to play live again. And I'm like, yay.
Okay.
Because he's a great piano player. And I love playing with him because there's something so magical about being able to just have like the vocals and the piano out there and being able to kind of harmonize with the different piano notes and, surprise people. I love it. I just love it.
Okay.
So we're definitely going to be doing some shows.
You guys are the two of you, or will be more of an ensemble, or do you think it's just going to be the two of you, or what do you envision?
I'm not really sure. I do have a band, and my band is going to have some music coming out that's different from what I do with Raymond.
Okay.
We have kind of more of I don't know how to explain our sound. It's not really pop. It's not really folk. It's not really rock. It's kind of some kind of combination thereof. And it leans heavily towards like the grunge thing, but it's also like, it's fun and feels good to play and sing to and listen to. It feels good. It feels good.
Okay.
We have a lot of fun with our band. It's very different from what I do with Ray, though. It's very different. Where
do you and your band typically play in the Tacoma area?
We play all over the place. Actually, we were in Bremerton last month a couple times. We're going to be in Kingston, in January on the 18th.
All right.
We just kind of go all over the place. In Tacoma, we play at the Spanish Ballroom sometimes. You can find us you'll see me and my drummer down at Dawson's for jam nights on Wednesdays. You'll see me and my drummer out during the week doing duo shows. On the weekends, if it's a full band show, you'll see all three of us in places. But a lot of times lately, it's been like me and my guitar player on one night, and then my drummer somewhere else, and then because we're still trying to get the momentum going because the band formation is fairly new. We just kind of put it together within the last 6 months and made the decision that we were going to actually be a band and move forward and do this.
Okay.
So now we've been writing a lot of songs, and we played in Yelm. It's kind of all over the place. We haven't really done a lot in Tacoma, in the heart of Tacoma specifically.
Okay.
But we played around at different venues, kind of all over the place.
You just said something I haven't heard anybody say before. You play in Yelm. Where on earth are you playing in Yelm?
The Quarter Mile.
The Quarter Mile.
That guy built an amazing sound system and stage inside of that place.
Where is that?
It is amazing. I love playing there. And he's a great guy. He's just got a great attitude. He's got a great personality. He's super fun. The owner of that place is just fantastic. I just love going there. He even built us a little green room in the back. It's great.
Now, where is this at in Yelm?
It's I can't remember the address. There's Yelm is only so big,
right?
But it's kind of off the beaten track. So if you go down the main street, you'll see the White Horse Tavern. You have to take a left and kind of go off. It's on 3rd in Yelm, but it's a super fun place. I really like going there. I've been there a few times and I really enjoy it.
All right.
Yeah.
I did not know that Yelm had a place for live music. That's kind of
a couple of them.
That's kind of cool.
A couple of them.
All right.
Yeah.
I did not know that. So I learned something today. Well, I haven't learned a lot, but that's very cool.
We play everywhere from Kingston. I've got shows booked in. I'm working on some stuff in Oregon for this spring. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping I can get it to work out, but I have to get everybody to agree on dates that are in the same week.
Right.
And that's a challenge.
And that's the joy of independent music and wearing all the hats.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you sitting down with me and sharing your story, because I think it's important that it is heard by more people, and you should keep sharing it as much as you can. And, so I appreciate you sharing it here. I also, the new song, the new one that you just released, I really think you guys did an amazing job with it. And genuinely, and I agree with you that it was probably one of those songs that would be tricky to repackage.
It's a big song.
Yeah. And what's funny is that's probably the only song by that band that I actually like. That's just not a band I ever got,
There's another song on that album called Is Anybody Listening? Is There Anybody Listening?
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. I know that they were hugely popular and, influential and all that, but I just, just not one of those ones that got clicked with me. And that's okay. I mean, it doesn't,
I get it.
Just didn't click with me. So I appreciate that. I'm going to, I know. We have the most important question of all. You ready? Remember, I warned you that this was not an option. You have to answer. So we'll set the rules up. It's a either or answer.
Okay.
Neither or both is not an acceptable option. You must answer either one of the two things. And then you have to explain, like homework, like when you were in school, you have to show your work. You have to explain your reasoning. All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Very serious question. Cake or pie?
Cake.
Why?
Because it's delicious. And pie crust is not as good as cake.
There are no wrong
It's
answers
just
here.
not.
There are no wrong answers here.
No, pie crust is not as good as cake. I mean, pie crust is kind of dry, and you have to put things on it to make it kind of, even with the stuff inside of it, the inside of the pie is always delicious unless it's mincemeat. But you never know until you actually bite into it what kind of pie it is. When you look at a cake, it's going to be delicious. It could be chocolate. It could be white cake. It could be green cake. It could be flour cake. I don't care. I'm eating it. German chocolate is my favorite, but you can't go wrong with cake. You just can't go wrong. Cake is delicious.
All right.
Let the people eat cake.
All right. Now I have to ask a follow-up question. Growing up in your life, more cake or more pie as a kid growing up?
Definitely more cake. I wasn't exposed to pie a lot.
Okay. So just so to clue you in on kind of the joke here is, I think it's a funny question, and because it's like, and some people are just like as adamant as you are, like it's cake, it's pie, the others are wrong. Other people are like asking me which one of their children they have to give up. It's fun to watch that.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, some people are like, I started asking the follow-up, like as kids, what were you exposed to? And what I'm finding is that your answer is almost always predicated on your upbringing.
Probably, you're probably right.
If you grew up as a kid with cake, and a particular type of cake, like it was always a Costco sheet cake or grandma's scratch baked cake, whatever, or pie, whatever. It's almost always going back to when we were kids. It's interesting to me.
My grandma used to try to make pies a lot, and she wasn't very good at it. My grandpa made better pies.
Okay. See, and I think there's no wrong answer here. I mean, there is. Pumpkin pie is the wrong answer. It's just foul and horrible.
That shouldn't be a thing. I like pumpkin pie if you put pepper in it, though.
Oh,
really
we're
good.
done here. No, just kidding.
I put pepper in everything.
Oh.
I made cookies last night for, we had a little listening party for the song before it came out.
Uh-huh.
And I brought cookies, and everybody's like, wow, these cookies are so good. What did you put in them? I'm like, pepper.
Huh.
Try it.
Are you talking like black pepper or?
Mm-hmm.
And okay, help me out here. What type of cookies did you bake?
Chocolate chip walnut.
Chocolate chip walnut. And how much pepper did you put into the dough?
1.5 teaspoons.
So pretty significant amount.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to lie. That sounds horrible.
It's delicious.
It sounds, I'm just telling you, my initial reaction is it sounds horrible.
Everybody is so surprised when I tell them that. I'm like, no, pepper is the secret ingredient. It for some reason, it brings out the sweet flavors and it kind of tones everything down and makes it just gel. So if you ever put too much sugar in something, add some pepper.
I'm going to repeat myself. This sounds horrible. You're selling me on it though. That's the thing. It's like if you were to like be in the room with me and you said, here, try a cookie, I would try one.
You should. They're delicious.
I'm like, I would, well, I mean, I'm not going to, I mean, look at me. I don't say no to cookies. But where did you learn to put pepper in a cookie?
I was trying to, I tried to make Thanksgiving dinner and I did make a Thanksgiving dinner and I really wanted to, I don't like pumpkin pie.
We're all in agreement.
And so
there.
I was like, how can I make this taste good? And I read like up on the internet and then I actually have I am about halfway through a master's degree in naturopathic medicine. Okay. And one of the things that I learned in my naturopathic medicine class was that when things are too sweet, like when you're doing like, when you're making like lozenges or you're making syrups and things like that, and you need to tone down the sweetness because the berry that you've used or the amount of sugar that you've had to use to create that, you need to tone it down. You use black pepper to offset it. And so I was like, well, let's try it in the pumpkin pie and see if it works. And it did. It did. It was delicious. And now I'm like, okay, pepper goes in everything. I put it in everything that I make.
There you go, folks. Pepper goes with everything. From Meghan Storey.
Yes, it goes with everything.
Meghan, thank you for this. I got nothing to add.
If you add a little turmeric to it, it's good for your bones and your joints too.
I understand that one, but pepper and cookies.
It's delicious. I'm telling you, you got to try it. 1.5 teaspoons of black pepper. Try it.
I'll report back to you.
Okay, let me know.
I will. Meghan, thanks so much.
Absolutely. Thank you. I had a blast this morning. Thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
Hope you enjoyed the show. You can reach me on Twitter at ExploreWaState. I'd love to hear your comments. You can also visit our website at explorewashingtonstate.com. If you know anyone who would like the show, it'd be amazing if you'd share the show with them. This is the biggest way that we grow this show. Good old word of mouth. I'm glad you were here with me today, and I hope to have you listening to the next episode. See you then.